I want to see you glow up in the highest and best version of yourselves. And the one thing that I do know is that when you are trying to glow up, when you are trying to rebuild after a toxic relationship, it's really hard when you're trying to do it all alone. It's really hard when there are people out there who are judging you. It's really hard when you don't have a support system. So I want to share what actually helped me overcome a mountain of toxicity by helping you understand all the dynamics, in which you might gain a different perspective as I share my journey and my testimony. So take what resonates, leave what doesn't, because what works for me may not work for you. What works for you may not work for others. One thing I know is that it's hard rebuilding yourself after raising kids, marriages, setbacks, disappointments, and overall life in itself. So take a deep breath. I get it, right? I get it. It can be hard when you're trying to rebuild by yourself or rebuild yourself up after a toxic relationship and toxic habits or toxic patterns when you don't even know you're in one or you are the one. I know. But hold that thought. If you are rebuilding yourself after a toxic relationship, I'm going to tell you what, I know firsthand because I was in that I understand now how challenging this journey can be. But I promise you, it's also going to be incredible because it's going to help you transform and rebuild your life. So grab a cup of tea, okay, get comfortable so we can break these chains and destroy these yokes. And one thing I do know is that the enemy don't like when the truth shows up. So let's go ahead and shame this devil. Like the video if you have not already done so. Most people been in a toxic relationship has felt lost, overwhelmed, plain stuck, and even after that relationship, you feel like they've drained your energy. They took away your self-worth. I know because I've been there. I understand that. That's why I'm on here. So you're not alone. There was so many days that I felt like I was existing in these relationships that I was involved in, whether they were with my family, with friends, with colleagues, in a love relationship, constantly questioning my value, battling those feelings of inadequacy, struggling to find my foot back into the world after a breakup. It was tough. And I felt like it was heavy. It was a heavy burden that I was carrying. But some people carry this burden for years before they realize they're in a toxic relationship, or that those relationships or that those thoughts that I was having was toxic. Toxic relationships, whether it's with those you love, people you with, people you work with, your social buddies, they manifest in so many different ways, from constant criticism, manipulation, emotional neglect, and control, pulling from you, not pouring into you. And yet here you are trying to hold things down, trying to keep your composure, not even realizing you bringing yourself down. So if you ever felt like you were walking on eggshells, baby, that's a classic sign. Tiptoeing around Peter, Pam, Lucy, all around these people that are toxic situations. Sometimes even biting your tongue, baby. Finding yourself doubting now your self-worth, right? Feeling anxious or even losing sight of who you are, what you want to do, where you want to go, what you want to be. But here's the thing. You can reclaim your life. Transform that pain into your power by recognizing the toxicity that's going on in your life. This is a great way for you to take those steps, understanding that others may have played a role in that pain. We also have to look at the role that we play. I know. We all think that we don't have no toxicity. I'm not toxic. It's not me, it's them. I want you to understand something. Sometimes we attract these relationships that mirror our internal struggles. And so this doesn't mean that it's your fault, but it does mean that you have the power to change that narrative. You have the power to change your story. You have the power to change that trajectory. So today I want to share my journey and some valuable insights that I believe is going to help you rebuild yourself after a toxic relationship. Stick around. Let's lift each other up down in the comments. Bless us with some hearts because, we can all use a safe space. So here we go. We're about to get started on me sharing some of my story, part of my journey in my experiences that I've had. And from my own experiences and awareness of the mess that I was in, I realized that toxic relationships come subtle or they come overt, right? They leave you feeling drained and confused, baby. Like when their words made you question your sanity. That's called gaslighting. Or maybe you experienced constant criticism that chipped away at your confidence. Toxic. I remember being in a relationship during a particular time of my life where I was getting excited about this new venture that I was coming up with, excited about the information that I had received and the steps that I had taken, only to share it with these people and be met with sarcasm, and they ridiculed me. That ain't gonna work. This ain't gonna happen. Sometimes they even gave me the evil eye. They was mad that I was doing it and they wasn't doing it. The sad part is it took me a long time to recognize that this wasn't normal. That was toxic. These type of partners also isolate you from your family and your friends and make you feel like they the only ones that you can rely on. But that's how they pull you in. You don't even realize it. What they're doing is creating a false sense of hope, a false sense of dependency. But the truth is, it's damaging you. For example, somebody who belittles your accomplishment, they're going to make you feel small and insignificant. You're going to lose your spark and not even realize it until you're out of that relationship. Telling you nobody else going to ever love you like I love you. Nobody ever going to do the things that I did for you. And then when you look back on it, you're like, well, what did they do? Treating me like that? If that's the case, I don't want it. Right? See, myself, I really did find myself as I began my journey to my own self-discovery, that understanding these cycles that kept breaking me, same type of people, similar situations, I could see how that toxic stuff was affecting many areas of my life. Now, don't go nowhere, okay? But there are some truth to that. Although they have their ways, we have to take accountability, and understanding is also equally important for us to reflect on our own part of those dynamics, those situations, those conversations, those relationships. Sometimes we attract those relationships that actually mirror our past pain and those insecurities. I know we want to blame everybody else, but we are here to rebuild us. You're here to rebuild you. Because of it, it took me some time myself to even understand that those patterns and behaviors with others and myself were toxic. But since this video is to help you, let's talk about self-reflection. What is self-reflection and why is it so important? I want you to think about what drew you to that toxic relationship. Were you seeking validation? Were you seeking love? Or maybe trying to fill that void from your childhood? That is what self-reflection looks like. And with a pen and paper, baby, you can write those answers down to get to the root of why. And then ask yourself again, why? And then ask yourself again, why? Here's another testimony, okay? In my case, I realized that I was seeking out relationships where I felt needed, right? I was trying to solve somebody else's problems. I was trying to show up for them. I was believing in them more than they were believing in themselves. Instead of focusing on my own healing, but little did I know I was in that, right? Because that was toxic. It was something I learned. It was a behavior that I grew up upon. But I wanted to know, where the hell did this come from? And then I realized me being an older sibling, taking care of them, fighting for them, being available to them, taking care of my parents, showing up for my parents when they didn't show up for themselves. All I knew was taking care of others. So the need to be needed was what I was looking for. Who need me? Next. Now that turned into being a fixer. You see where I'm going with this? There are some who find themselves being in relationships because they have a fear of being alone. So they're jumping into relationships, hoping to fill that void from childhood issues or maybe abandonment, not realizing that this cycle is repeating itself. And when I say relationship, these relationships can be toxic relationships with your family, with your friends, with your children, your coworkers, business partners, colleagues. It doesn't even matter. It's the relationships that you encounter that you know are not good for your well-being. And so what I'm sharing is going to help you self-reflect on any and every relationship that you encounter moving forward in your life. And that reflection is about understanding those triggers and what you need in that area of your life to heal. And so some of the action steps that you can actually take is grabbing a journal and writing down your thoughts. If you are feeling stuck and if you don't know where to start, I got a few journal prompts that I want to share with you that I actually worked on for myself. These are questions that I literally asked myself. And so the first journal prompt is, what did I ignore in the beginning of this relationship? Just like a car has a check engine light with those warnings, you know, the ones that we ignore. What did I ignore in the beginning of the relationship? Journal prompt number 2 is, how did I feel about myself during that time? A lot of times we make decisions based on what we're feeling at that moment. And so what were you going through? What space were you in? Were you happy? Were you sad? Were you feeling lonely? Were you dealing with low self-esteem? Did you not feel confident in yourself? Journal prompt number 3. What patterns can I identify in my past relationships? A lot of times you can see that there's a pattern in that relationship. You can see the way that you show up, the way that they show up, the conversations you had, the conversations you don't have. You know, the way you approach people. What patterns can I identify in my past relationships? And so this kind of reflection is really going to give you clarity and help you recognize the changes that you need to make overall for your well-being moving forward from reflecting on these questions. It's a start. It's not the overall breakdown, but it's a start. So how do we begin to overcome this toxicity, Evie? How do we begin? This information that helped me, hopefully it's helping you. And if it is helping you, comment down below what's working for you, what has helped you, or where you are on this journey. You got to set some boundaries, okay? And establishing these boundaries is going to be important for your well-being, because you might have to limit your interaction with certain people. You might have to stop texting your ex. You might have to remove yourself from negative influences. I had to unfollow quite a few people on social media because their posts were triggering memories that I was uncomfortable with. And so each time I saw that post, it reminded me of the hurtful experiences that maybe I was trying to move past that were still unresolved in my life. So yes, it's important to learn to also say no, protecting your energy. You know, boundaries might feel uncomfortable at first because, you know, people are used to you being a certain way, moving a certain way, acting a certain way. But that is a sign of self-love and respect for yourself. And it's important to seek support. You know, you got to surround yourself around positive influences, not the low vibrational people, the judgmental people. Reach out to friends or family and even support groups that can help you. Sharing your experiences can actually lighten up your load and help you feel less isolated or like you're doing this by yourself. I mean, for me, I felt like I needed community. I thrive with a community. So a supportive community, I felt like I needed to find within my community who focused on empowerment. And I did. And it was good for my soul to be able to share my story and hear others' experiences, which made me feel less alone and helped me understand that there's other people who are going through things like this. I also learned from that and took it and started focusing on my self-care. And that's non-negotiable. You got to do things that makes you happy, that nourishes your soul, whether it's meditation, exercising, going out alone for ice cream, or simply taking walks outdoor in nature, or just sitting still and doing absolutely nothing. You got to prioritize your mental and your emotional well-being, because baby, ain't nobody going to do it for you and ain't nobody coming to save you. I remember when I got started on my journey, you know, I was eager and excited to change my morning routine because I knew I was getting up later instead of getting up earlier. I was feeling more tired later than I was. And, you know, I started this morning routine that included journaling and meditation and standing on my grounding mat. Okay, so that I could get balance, and then going outdoors for my walk. And it really did set a positive tone for my day, and it helped me to connect with myself. One thing I've learned through this process is that you have to forgive yourself. You have to give yourself grace. This is actually a big one. And you have to let go of that guilt, that shame, that blame, right? You have to give yourself grace. Remember, you did the best you could with the tools you had even at that time. It's like when you think about it, when you were a kid and your parents didn't do something, you were like blaming them. You didn't do this and you didn't show up and they had this and we didn't have that. And then you get older and you have children and you're like, oh my God. You start learning a lot of things about parenting and finances and credit and, cooking and going to the doctors and all of these different things, or being a single mom, going through a divorce. And then you look back and you're like, wow, I get it. My parents did the best that they could at that time with what they had. Think about them, our parents then, who didn't have technology like the children these days have, right? If they had what they if they could have what the kids now have, they would probably be better off financially because they would be able to make money in so many other different ways. So when you think about it, think about what they had then at the time to do what they could with what they had, if any of that makes sense. But so you want to remember you did the best you could with the tools that you had at that time that those tools was presented to you. So forgiveness is really powerful. Forgiveness is a really powerful step towards freeing yourself, that liberation and feeling good about yourself. You want to tell yourself, I forgive myself. And now that I know better, Evie, I will do better for myself. So one of the things that I did was write a forgiveness letter to myself. You don't have to send it. Just express your feelings and release that burden, release that blame, release that guilt, release that shame. Forgive yourself for being in a situation that you only knew how to survive during that time with what you had. Yourself is going to forgive yourself. So now that we've kind of understand reflection, toxicity, let's talk about how we can rebuild our lives. How I rebuilt my life. This process is going to be about rediscovery, empowerment, and I want you to embrace the journey. Me, myself, I love giving testimonies. I love talking. I love sharing them because I know that it's going to help somebody. And so I am so grateful for how far I've come, and knowing that there are so many other people who are trying to rebuild their life after toxic relationships, toxic energy, toxicity within themselves makes me understand why I'm on here doing this, the assignment. And so after leaving my toxic relationship that I was in, I kind of took time to start exploring different activities that I had abandoned in my life, that I had abandoned in my mind, that I had abandoned from my heart, like going with this YouTube channel, or starting my digital product business, or reading the books that I wanted to read that was sitting dusty on the shelf. I started to rediscover the love that I had for creating, and it was therapeutic and it has been a therapeutic outlet for me. So try creating, maybe your vision board for yourself that reflects, your dreams or your aspirations. Go to the dollar store, buy magazines, cut those images and those words out of them that inspire you, and build and create your presentation that's going to motivate you, keep you focused on those goals. Along with the actionable steps that we talked about when it came to your boundaries and forgiving yourself. Set those small, achievable goals for yourself. Don't be trying to go all the way down here to the 10th, to the 100th part of the growth process. Start at step 1 and celebrate, right? Maybe, and do something that's going to make you feel really good about yourself. Maybe starting a new hobby or taking that class, or celebrate. And I want you to celebrate every win. I want you to celebrate every step so that you are in position to move forward. Because it's time for you to start moving along to rebuild your life and stop making excuses for them. Stop making excuses for yourself. This awareness right now that I'm sharing, or now however you're seeing it or hearing it come off, that awareness has to be an empowerment that comes from within yourself. And you have to know that you got the strength to turn that pain into your power. Like I said, nobody coming to save you. You've got to stop making excuses for them and for you. Every challenge is going to be an opportunity for you to grow. We learn new skills. We learn what our gifts are. We learn what our talents are. We learn what we like. We learn what we don't like. Let me tell y'all, I was really eager to have that self-discovery of myself after losing myself, that I even created a victory jar, okay, where I would write down my achievements, big, small, it didn't even matter. I just wrote them on a little piece of paper, folded it up, drop it in a jar. And when I would feel down or when I would feel discouraged, I would go back to that jar and remind myself of all the small steps and all the things that I did achieve that reminded me of how far I came. So maybe do a gratitude jar. Maybe do a reflection jar. If you have one, share that with us. Let us know how that's working out for you. I'd love for you to share your journey with me and the community. Comment down below where you are on this journey, maybe questions you might have or experiences that you might want to share. Let's create this safe space where we can support one another. Be mindful that we are all on this journey and we might be at different places and spaces on this journey. Remember, healing is a journey. Is not a destination, okay? A lot of people think it's got to get to that destination. No, it's a journey. It's in the moment. It's in the now. It's perfectly okay because you're going to have some ups and you're going to have some downs along the way. But just know that you are worthy of that love. You are worthy of respect. You are worthy of happiness. You are worthy of walking in alignment with your purpose. And so if anything that I said on this video resonated with you, I want you to go ahead and give us a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Maybe share it out with somebody else that you know that can use this information to help them rebuild their lives after coming from a toxic relationship. Because together we can transform our lives and lift each other up. So, and that's part of my purpose. What I experienced is to come back on here and say, listen, I know I had a hard time rebuilding myself after that relationship. Oh my God, I was in a toxic relationship. Oh my God, I lost myself. Oh my God, what happened to my confidence? Oh my God, I don't even know what I want anymore. There's so many things that we go through, and this is why I am here. So again, I love you. God loves you. And until the next video, bye.